Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in. My name is Niketan Maral. I'm working as an SAP PLM consultant with the company Zenith North America here in Auburn Hills, Michigan. I wanted to share my knowledge from my recent SAP PPM project for doing project and resource management using SAP PPM. I hope this is useful to anyone who wants to know how to do project and resource management using SAP PPM. Also, any other fellow SAP consultants who wants to understand more out of the box functions of SAP PPM, or in general, anybody who's looking to get some information in this area. What I'm trying to do today is trying to demonstrate the standard functions of SAP project and portfolio management by you by showing this base use case of creating a project, assigning resources, transferring costs, releasing the project, and confirming the tasks. So as we know, SAP PPM stands for project and portfolio management, but today I'm only covering the project management part of it. It's also not the commercial project management, which is another solution from SAP, which is more suited towards your sellable projects to your clients. So before I start, just to give a background, what I'm showing here is an SAP PPM 6.1, which is installed on top of SAP ECC 6, EHP 8. You have different deployment options like cloud or a standalone PPM, etc. But today what we have is a PPM 6.1 installed on top of ERP. So this is the simple base process. This is a simple base process we are trying to follow today, which is creating and planning the project. Post it, we do the resource and staffing as a project manager, and then we do the costing of the project, and the last step would be releasing and confirming the project. Apart from this process flow, I'll try to show the functions related to the cross project staffing, some other reporting and evaluations, and some other functions of the SAP PPM. So without any further delay, let me go to NWPC. This is my SAP NWPC GUI user interface, in which I have the project management role. Pardon me for this security pop-ups. This is my project management dashboard. So on the left side, I have the project management item list, which is projects, then my tasks, checklist items, approvals, etc. On the right side for projects dashboard, I have my projects, I have all projects, I have my favorites, some of the last used projects and substitutes. So I can see all of the projects in the system under the all projects dashboard. There are different columns, severity, project number. We talk about severity later. The project number, the project type of all the projects, the system status, etc. This is a configurable dashboard. You can configure your number of columns or rows to be seen, etc. And some other information. There are different actions user can do on this dashboard. For example, he can open, copy the project, create, delete the project, import, export from MSP, etc. or XML, etc. As you can see here, once I importing the project, it takes me to the options wherein I can either import an XML or an MS project. Going back to my dashboard, I click on this. I can copy the existing project. That's one option, or I can choose to create a new project, and it will allow me to either choose a existing project template, or I can choose an operational project. So for now, let me choose the operational project. I think this is same as the copy project function, but let me give a source project. So let me choose from the existing project. Choose from create this project. So what we see here inside the project, all the information got copied from the uh, source project. So if you look at here, we see different tabs, different subtabs, um, and on the for example, the structure, the resources, the accounting, that belongs to the entire project. And at the bottom, we see the details area, which belongs to particular project element which we have selected. On the left side, we see list of project elements. The triangle represents the project definition. Um, a project definition contains some general information about the project. Then we see the phases, which are the which from which the project is divided basis on the basis of time. Um, uh, we also see the checklist and checklist items assigned to the project definition. So checklist is basically contains checklist items which are required to complete the project definition. Also, we could have the checklist under the phases, and under those phases we could have checklist items which are important to be completed to finish that phase. In today's example, I have not done any checklist under the phase. I just put the checklist under the project definition. So let me explore the phase, and I see here the different tasks um, below those phase. So tasks basically form the basis for planning your activities in the project. It has duration, it has resources to be assigned. So once in the detail section of the task, it also could be a milestone task to do a milestone analysis. All these project elements, project definition, checklist items, tasks, and phases, they have dependency among themselves, a time dependency. For example, the phases are you can start the second phase after the first phase is over, etc. Checklist items does not have durations. Um, you can assign tasks are usually assigned to the phases, but depending on your project requirement, you can assign tasks to the project definition. So coming back to project definition, we can for today we have just changed the project definition to, let's say, demo y. um, so this is 25 digit alphanumeric text. You can also have a uh, you also have a project number which is auto generated, but you can format it based on your nomenclature, naming convention. You also have a long text and description for the project definition. Then you have a project type which holds the controlling information about the project type. For example, how should be the scheduling of the project, or how should we transfer the costs, etc. There are other fields like project reason, pre-configured list, then we have a responsible role, responsible resource. These are the fields which are used for the evaluation purpose. Then we have a system status. So we see initially the system status is created. The system status created means the project has been scheduled automatically when it's created, and we get the start date and finish date of the project. If you don't maintain a project start date for the project definition, then it just takes the current date as a project start date. Also for phases, we have phase type, which kind of controls some information like should the phase be approved or not. We also talked about the dependency. So we see here we can maintain a predecessor phase for phase 2. So phase 1 dr1 is a predecessor phase for phase 2. Now going back to the details section of the task, we have the task type, which controls some information like the rate, costing rate of the task, which is useful in costing. um, we also see some other information like the sort number for the task, which decides how you will see the sequence of the tasks. in your task list. You can also mark the task as a milestone, which is shown by the diamond symbol. And for multi-project monitoring, we can assign another project to your task, so it task acts as a sub project, which is again useful in the multi-project management. We also can further split the tasks into subtasks, which are also known as summary tasks. So you can further divide the work, and the the data will be aggregated under parent task. The way of maintaining this information is through a table view, which is easy to display. You can see all your project elements in a tabular view. As you see here, all the information is maintained. As a project manager, for example, I need to maintain the duration of my tasks, also the work hours. So this means, for example, um, let's say my agreed upon concept task is for the duration is 6 days, but the total work done during those 6 days is 11 hours. So I can maintain that information here. So we spoke about the dependencies between the tasks. So if I go to my relationships tab, I see the 4 types of relationships are maintained. So for example, typically I have a finish start relationship. Let's say when my agreed upon task is finished, my next task start. Similarly, you can have start relationship, wherein both the tasks are starting at the same time. You can have the relationship between the task at the same level. There is an option to create a relationship between tasks in different phases. So for example, I can just select and try to find the task. It will show me the list of all the tasks from different phases. I can choose the task from other phase if I want to. Canceling for now. So that's how we define the relationship between the task, which is very important for scheduling. You can create a project elements by using these different options in that toolbar, which is create phase, create task, etc. You can also do a copy paste using this copy paste symbol. It's a little bit easy for maintaining. You can also maintain all these project elements under the table view by creating or copy pasting the project elements. So this we just saw different project elements and different ways the project manager can maintain those. So as a project manager, important fields. Now let's move on to the next part, which is the documentation. During the project planning, for the documentation, there are 3 different ways you can manage documentation in project. The first one is using the document management of SAP PPM itself, wherein you can simply upload your documents from your local machine into the SAP PPM project. So for example, just I'm uploading a file on my desktop. I can save this file for now, and then also there is an option for me to choose the predefined document template. So for example, I have a couple of templates in my PPM system. I can choose the template and assign it to my project folder. So that was the option using the PPM document management system. The second option is using SAP DMS. So SAP DMS is SAP's document management system solution, which is basically we need to create a document info record in the SAP and use those for the document management. So you can have an option to use EasyDMS here. There is an option to create a predefined document structure mapped to your project structure. So those options are there, which I'm not showing for today. Now your project management need collaboration with your internal and external partners. So SAP provides a couple of options here. We can use collaboration folders or C folders. This is a solution from SAP which creates a collaboration folders which are open to the external suppliers, uh, which they can log in and access those collaboration folders. So for example, here I'm trying to create a collaboration folder. for my task. So it creates a collaboration folder automatically. I can transfer some documents into that collaboration folder and save this. I could open the C folders application and show this collaboration folder and documents inside it, but just for time constraint, I'm not showing that. But this is a C folder collaboration which got created over here. There is another option to use SAP Jam as your collaboration platform. It's a social platform wherein you can exchange documents from your project. The next important uh, part for this project elements structuring is object links. So by default, SAP provides 30 object links out of the box. You can assign to. So for example, let me assign a purchase order item to my task. So let me select all of these for now and assign them to the project task. Let me save this project task. So these are my project items. So going back to the basic data view of the task, let me go to the graphic view. From the graphic view, you see here the Gantt chart based on Java. We see the task laid out in the Gantt chart. Let me explode this task, explode all these project elements. I can adjust the layout of the graph by using different options. So let me fit it to the screen. And it shows me different tasks laid out under the phases. If you see, there is a zero float for most of the tasks. So all these tasks on the critical path, which are shown in red. There is one task shown in blue which have a positive float. So it's not on the critical path. I can do some activities on the Gantt chart. For example, I can change the duration of the task. I can change the constraints of the task on the Gantt chart. So here we can talk about scheduling. So as mentioned before, whenever the project is created, the scheduling is done automatically at that point of time. So depending on the project type, there are a configuration. There are two ways you can schedule the project: a top-down scheduling or a bottom-up scheduling. In this example, I have set up a bottom-up scheduling, which means I have the start date from the project definition, and then based on the duration of each task, I calculate the start and end dates of the tasks, and I aggregate those dates into high level phase start and end dates, and then I aggregate those phase start and end dates into the project definition, which gives me the start and end date of project. So usually we also do a forward scheduling. System does the forward scheduling, which calculates the earliest date for all the tasks phase and the project definition, and then once it determines the finish date of the project, and from there it does a backward scheduling to determine the latest dates of the project elements. I can have another options to print this Gantt chart for further processing. I can also modify the duration by dragging the graphic elements. For example, let me reduce the duration of this task to 4 days by dragging it with my mouse. Let me save this information and reset my layout for a better view. So this completes our first part, which is creating and the planning the project. Meaning, I have created my basic structure. I've assigned the tasks. I assigned the duration. I know my dates. When is my project is going to finish, for example, and that completes my plan as a project manager. Now the next step is assigning resources for this project. Is for project manager specifies different positions required to execute the tasks of the project. Those positions are called as roles, project roles. Those project roles are then assigned to the tasks uh, for which the task to be complete. So that is what project management has to do. For example, I know that I need a for agreed upon concept task, I need a project manager, and for mock-up samples, I need an engineer. So after done creating with the roles, I need to staff those project manager. Either project manager can staff those roles, or a resource manager can staff those roles. So we, in this example, I'm starting with project manager himself staffing those roles. Project, let me go to resources tab. So here I'm seeing my roles coming from my previous project, which I'm copied. There is some description. This is a demand for this role. This is the number of hours I required as a role to be done. So some of this information is got copied over from the project, so not very consistent. So let me see what are these roles right now assigned to. If you see here, project manager is assigned to agreed to concept. You can go to the details of the role. So for example, project manager, I can maintain I can use the qualifications. It's in location USA, automotive. I can use the qualification of the role. So for example, I need an electrical engineer to finish this. Sorry, I need a project manager. For example, I can assign some qualifications to my role. And if you look at the going back to my research overview, staffing overview. So for example, let me for today's case, I need to staff the product engineering role. So I can again go back to details, select my product engineering, and I can search the resource based on qualification, location, area, etc. So the search gave me resource availability, location, and overall match. I can start. You see here, I'm assigning user and a 4 hours. So I have assigned user to my role product engineer. I go back to the structure. Now let me assign a couple of tasks to this role and the user. So I go to my task mockup samples. I go to roles. I select product engineer and I select this particular resource. In real life scenario, there could be more than one resources assigned to the role, and your project manager can decide whom to assign for this particular task. But for today, let me go ahead and assign this resource. So work is 4 hours. Let me save this. Let me assign one more task to this user. Assign DR1. Again, product engineering, and then assign this resource. Now there could be some inconsistency because we need to match the task duration, task demand, the role demand, and the resource assignment. So let me go back to the resources. So what I need to do is I need to click on the role and say update role according to the tasks. So you see here, I get the start date and finish date for the role. So I need total 12 hours. And then there are some, there is one task which is assigned to my role, which is not really assigned to any user. So we'll keep it for now that. And mockup samples is actually does need an 8 hours, but right now it's only assigned for 4 hours to user. So that's why the assigned number is 4. So we have a remaining demand of 4. So I'm just keeping this information as an example. All these icons, what do they mean, and what all these columns mean. So I can also do this project manager role update. So I get start and finish date. It's not assigned to anyone, so the role is not staffed. So I'm getting a red because it's, although that it's assigned to the task, it's not yet staffed. This task is green because it has got the role. It meets every figure. So product engineering, the role, it's partially staffed. And the assigned efforts are lower than availability of the partner. So I still have some availability. So for today's sample, I'm not staffing all the roles. Also, I'm not assigning all the tasks to all the roles. So I'm just uh, assigned a couple of tasks to product engineering role, and I'm staffing that role with the user, my user Niketan Maral. So I save this staffing. I can also check out my resource overview, wherein you see the resource assigned to this project. So I am assigned to the role product engineering, which in turn is assigned to these 2 tasks. So I'm assigned to these 2 tasks for 4 hours. Based on the we would see some more screens, some more details about resource management at the end of this session. So let's continue as a project manager. Okay. So we are done with our second step, which is resourcing the tasks, resourcing the project, and staffing for today's exam, for today's use case. Now moving on to the next step, which is costing. So we have an accounting tab. So in SAP PPM, there are 2 options for transferring your costs, doing your cost estimates and transferring those costs to back-end ERP system. One is to transfer your cost to SAP internal order. It's a cost collector. It's an object to cost. It's a kind of a cost collector to collect your costs. So since I'm ready to transfer my cost, I will set the status flag to transfer. Okay. So what it is doing is, in the back end, it is creating a internal order. I go to my accounting, and if you see here, it created my, so I can expand this. And just to understand these columns, it a list of all the roles which are assigned to my project. Each of this role will have something called as a rate, cost rating, costing rate, or revenue rate. So for example, a project manager has a rate of $150 per hour. So let me see where the dates are. I'm clicking on the project manager. So let me go back to my resources, and if I go to my details, I see my project manager. And if I go to my costing view, I see here the manager billing rate maintained, which is $150 per hour. So how the costing logic works is, even though the product engineering needs 12 hours, it's only staffed for 8 hours. So based on that 8 hour staffing, the rate is $100 per hour. So that's why the cost is showing here as $800. So I still need 4 hours to be, we still need a 4 hours of efforts to be costed. One interesting thing is just to give a twist, we have the sales support role. So if you look at the sales support role, it doesn't have a cost, but it has a revenue. So assuming one of somebody in your project, you need to post revenues instead of a cost. So for example, in this sales support, I'm telling it as a external billing task, so I'm just posting it as a revenue, $180 per hour. So we will see that in the accounting that it's not calculated as a cost, but in fact we will see in our further that how it's subtracted from the actual cost. So let's go to the detailed data to check out the. So you see here the internal order got created in the background. There is some information, default information coming from the configuration, like controlling area, company code, etc., from the model order, internal model order. And then there are different uh, views of this internal order, but let's jump to the key figures, which are some financial key figures. So right now we see here these are our planned costs coming from our costing calculations based on the roles and demand of the roles, and then we have the total costs over here. Right now we have not maintained the budgets, we have not maintained the um, overall cost, so it's all zero. So even though we see the $400 difference here because one of the role is partially staffed, so it's not connecting that cost into the planned costs. Now to address that issue, let me go to staff overview. So instead of 4 hours, let me assign that to 8 hours. Let me save this and let's see what happened to the videos. This is partially staffed. Yeah, so it got let's see what happens in accounting. Go to my costing, calculate. Yep. So it recovered those costs from the. So now it's matching the grid rate. And if I go back now to detailed data, yeah. All right. So there is something called easy cost planning. So if we see here, these costs are coming over, and since in my configuration probably I have maintained this. Right. And let me confirm this. Okay, it's taking too much. So let me. Oh, I think it's taking the standard price from the. Right. Let me save this. Exit session. I can still, just to make sure, I'll display the internal order. Go to the costing. So I see all the costs in my bracket and my revenues are subtracted. So I have the new price of 7,140. Now I can do some overall planning, so I can go change overall planning. So I see here, I just plan another $500 for some additional expenses, and then from the costing, and then I have to total plan this. And let me save this. I can do the budgeting for all these costs. So change the budget. Let me plan some $10,000. And then overall budget is 10,000. Now let me go down to my project and look at the detailed data. So my budget is 10,000. My plan costs 97,400. The total costs are the cost of my project tasks. It gives me the total cost upon budget as a 97%. The planned costs are 83% of total costs. These are some figures we have. You can also look at the reports here. This tells me for my project I have raw materials consumed of 2250. That's the plan, and activity allocation is 6,990. Let me close this report. All right. So this completes our second part. Next part of costing. So we created an internal order. We created an additional easy cost planning, and then we assigned a budget. We did an overall costing, and then we have an internal order which could be processed for the project costs. The next step is to release and confirm the project. So how release works is when you release a project definition, it automatically releases the next phase, which automatically releases the subordinate tasks associated with that phase. Once you release the task phase or a project definition, we cannot change the project definition type, the phase type, and the task type. Also, the scheduling which automatically happens at created, it doesn't no more happens automatically for the released project elements. So let me go ahead and release the project and save this project. Let me schedule just to make sure we have consistent data. We see here we get the information of bottom-up scheduling carried out. So once I release my project, I'm expecting this couple of tasks which are assigned to me, mockup samples and signed DR1 coming to my way. So let me make this project read-only. So there are three ways you can confirm a task. One way is directly coming to the task itself. So for example, I come here to mockup temple, I come to date and work, and then I can simply say, hey, I started this in so and so date and it's 100% complete. That's one way. Let me mark it only. The second way is I go to the my tasks option. This is my task dashboard. So if I click on my task dashboard, it tells me what tasks are coming to my way. So for example, we have this mockup samples and signed DR1 tasks coming to my way. We can optionally choose a cross application timesheet, which I'm going to show in today. So employees can log into their cross application timesheets either through CAT2 transaction or through their employee self-service portal. So for example, let me process this task, mockup samples and sign DR1. Came to my way, so I can go to my employee self-service. Get to my working time. Go to my time recording. And then I need to look at my work list. So you see here, I have this couple of tasks coming on my way. So I can select those. And I can say, hey, import these tasks. And then, let me say I worked on it. Like maybe 2 hours and 2 hours, 3 hours maybe. Just hit enter. And I just save this. Let me. So this is the work list, how it looks like in the employee self-service screen. These are the timesheets which most of the times all the users, it's a lot of users will be accessing timesheets frequently to submit their hours, etc. So this is what they see. This work list is configurable. You can decide, choose which columns are visible, which are not, etc. in the project. Okay, so let me, once I record my time, I close this, I can see that I have 5 hours posted for Thursday the 2nd. Showing my current selection. I can choose different periods. For example, I can go to the next month and etc. etc. So it's showing me some information here for a better navigation. So let me close this. All right, so let me close this. I can put some notes as well. I can say So what we do is we have to transfer those tasks. So usually this takes place. All right. So let me select this task. Confirm. I can choose multiple tasks. So let me select one of them. It's actually started. So if you see here, there is 2 hours and 3 hours which I entered in timesheet coming up as a confirm hours. And let's say for now I can still simply say, hey, I'm done. And then I just finished it today itself and just save these 2 tasks. Okay, I close my task. Now I go back to my project. Let's open our project again. We also need to do one more thing is we need to transfer these tasks to, let's say this is also done usually in background to the, let's run it. So I have some task to be transferred to the, so I remove the, this is my personal number. So every business partner is associated with a personal number in HR. So okay, I transfer those costs in the CATSM transaction. Now let's come back to our accounting. Let's see what's happening with our costing now. Calculate. So we have 2,250 as a material cost, and then rest of the cost is coming from the roles associated with it. And now if you go to the data, then we see here 5 hours. So we have assigned tasks. So we confirmed 5 hours of actual efforts. And then it also, the planned cost got reduced because we confirmed that amount of hours. So instead of, we were very efficient, instead of 12 hours we finished a task in 5 hours. So that brought down our planned cost and the actual cost of 500. So let's see what is happening here. Services, we can go to the, yeah, so you see here we have against the planned costs, we have now actual costs. Let's take care of our existing project. So yeah, we have 500 actual costs. We are yet to post any materials against this internal order. So this is the figures we are giving in the actual cost. So we exit from this report. We can open our period report as well. Let's get our top one. So we have this again, depending on the period, current year, etc. And we can basically set this up, what period you want to use the data, for example, which year and which period, etc. So that kind of finishes our last step of releasing and confirming project. We can similarly release and confirm all our other tasks, move the timesheets data into SAP. Um, now I would take some. I would like to talk about the. I'd like to talk about the other elements. Since we have some time, we already saw the. Now let's. Now there are some other dashboards. We can take a look at other dashboards. Um, so we have something called as an evaluation. So this is another useful dashboard to evaluate the project in different ways. So for example, I can create a new evaluation. So evaluations and the severity allows PPM to monitor different project elements on the predefined set of conditions. So for example, the finish date, current date is task is not complete and current date is more than finish date, or that staffing is not done, etc., etc. So I can. There are some predefined evaluation dashboards in the system. We can create our own dashboards. So let me do something. Choose something like task and task assignment, for example. For the project, we have a demo here. So this is my dashboard for the project. It gives me all the information. And you see here the severity icon is updated based on our severity settings. So for example, this it's covered, the task is completely covered with the role, so it's green, it's all good. The checklist item is not assigned to any user, so that's why it's showing me red. So it's accordingly it's updating the severity icons. On the right side, I see the dates, calculated start from the scheduling, um, assignment of the resource, and working hours, etc. You can export it into Excel, etc., for example. Um, what else we can say? Aggregated project data. This is an aggregated project data for the work and duration. Total it's a 31 days duration, etc. So I can add this data, add this evaluation as a favorite. Let me see if the task oriented costs. So since we are doing the single level controlling, we only get the easy cost planning data here and the task oriented cost. We have some other evaluation. So this is wherever I have staffed my project role. So in today we just staffed on one role. We'll see this is our another detail, the view which we also see in the accounting, the cost down. This also we can add to the favorite. These evaluations run in background because it takes some time, so the severity will be updated sometimes in the background. So yeah, we have some saved data for aggregated project data. So next time we can look at the saved data, saved evaluations, or you can execute the current evaluation. That's an option. So this is a little bit about the evaluation and the severity. The next topic I want to show is the like something we would like to see is this is all we have done is from the project management perspective so far. So it's the project manager who creates and plans the project. He does the resource planning. But now we have an option. What if we have a resource manager who is responsible for all the projects, and he's responsible for staffing. So PPM has an option to give him a fast entry screens for resource management. So let's close everything. Let's go to the my menu again. Let me close everything here. All right, let me do it read only. Project. Let me go to resource management. So as a resource manager, I have overview of all my resources which are there in my resource pool or in the organization I'm responsible for. I also have staffing overview, which is also give me overview of all the projects I'm looking at. It's my dashboard to assign the resources, etc. So for example, I can flip this for 2 months. So let me not go too far. Let me just go until end of August. All right. So I get some more space here, and period. Let me do week. All right. So you see here there are multiple projects. And I see all the icons here. So this role is not staffed. This is partially staffed, for example, etc. This project is partially staffed. So for example, I need to, hey, you know what, this is the project. I can do some, add some columns over here, make some projects favorite, depending on my priority. Here, for example, I need to assign a project manager. I select this project manager, and then I select this project, and so here I need to, for example, assign a project manager. So I can select a project manager. And then let me assign the user here, assign a candidate. Just assigning for this role. Okay. It's all good. We'll only save. Close this project, come back. And see here it became green. So I'm all good for the project manager for this project. I also can look at my resources. So far look good, they are available. So I can select my one. For example, I can select my resource here. It just gives me all the projects he's assigned to. This gives me very nice view of all the projects, his availability for the period like 1 year, its hours availability, and it's assigned for 322 hours. What are these hours for per month for each project and which task? So it gives very nice overview of the resource under my staffing overview. All right, so that's about the cross project resource planning for resource manager. Then we can talk something more about the different views also available, which are business context viewers. So for example, I am in the staffing view. I can open my business context viewer and it gives me a graphical display of uh, its availability and the assignment. For the business partner staffing. Same if I go to resource staffing. Also in the projects, I have some business context viewer available. I open my project. I have one side panel available. Gives me my planned time versus confirmed time. So if I, for example, choose my phase 1 and choose my sample mock-up samples, so I get my planned time versus confirmed time. So we did a great job here. We had 8 hours, but we finished it in 2 hours. Same with another task. Yeah, I get. So these are some business context viewers available in the project. We apart from business context, we have a search functionality over here, so we can search some information, and we can basically, if you have a large project with thousands of project element, like 1,000 project elements, we can search for a task or checklist or a document using this quick search in this project. Next is I'll talk about the snapshot and the version. So you can create simulation and a simulation snapshot or a version of a project, so that we just want to store the entire project data at certain point of time. So for example, I want to create a snapshot. Let me it's creating a snapshot. Yeah, this is a snapshot of the project. It's a read only. You can't change any information. It's stored in the as it is stage for your project. So I close this. I also can create the simulation, so that I can play around without disturbing my project data. I can play around scheduling. I can check some information and check what's happening without impact costing, etc., without impacting my project. So I saved my simulation. Close. So if I go to, for example, my project snapshot, there is one snapshot, there's one simulation. I can evaluate a snapshot or a simulation, evaluate a snapshot. I can compare the project. So for example, I can select this project and compare it with its own snapshot, for example. Yeah, just let me compare. For now, it would be obviously same because not that many changes, but gives me some comparison, and I can adjust those comparisons. Also, I can compare it in my Gantt chart. These two snapshots. It shows me the comparison values. So that's quickly about the snapshots and simulations. Let me close all the screens here. Okay, let me save this. There is multi-project monitoring option as for a project manager. So I go back to my project management. I can open a multi-project manager, which could be useful for monitor your multiple projects at the same time. So there, as we saw, that you can do multi-project management in different ways. You can create a sub-project out of your task. You can also use mirror tasks to do multi-project management, and also you can use this multi-project monitor. So these are the tools for any project manager who is monitoring multi-project. So, all right. Then there are some reports available, but I'm not showing them because our cloud system is not connected to BW. But there are standards BW reports available in SAP. These are standard BW info sets available for PPM reporting, and also there are different PDF status reports, etc. But these two things I'm not able to show because our cloud system is not connected today. But you can have PDF reports, PDF status reports stored in the DMS, or you can generate them on runtime in the project definition by using print fact sheet. So just to take a look at what we have seen so far, we have seen the structure details, table format, graphic. We know we can delete particular element, schedule it. We do some checks. We can copy it, etc. We have seen the dates and work. We can maintain the responsible organization for the project definition, for example. Some other information. There is a standard field control available in PPM. You can define which fields to be hidden or shown, which tabs to be hidden or shown. There is a configuration available for an easy addition of customer specific fields or tab using a WebDyn Pro configurations. You can add your own tab, for example, for these project elements. There are some standard authorizations, so you can admin write, you can use substitute for users. So for example, Sasha Shwenkar, I'm a project manager, but for certain period I can substitute myself. So that's pretty much in this SAP PPM area from the PPM. So let me save and close this. Few more topics I want to quickly cover before we call it a day. How do we maintain these resources in SAP? So we are using standard BP transaction to maintain these business partners. It's a mini HR. You can have your own SAP HCM system and use ALE application link enabling to pull those HR resources from there. We need to maintain this BP and assign them to HR personals, yeah, so that we can use them into all these accounting integration areas. There are some good some transactions like there's a good transactions like RPM underscore AMP data. So this gives you it's kind of a good dashboard of all your business partners which you're using in systems. So for example, let me take this one. So I can see the user is assigned, SAP user is assigned to this person. Qualifications are maintained, the location is maintained, the availability is maintained. I can, if not, I can maintain this here. So for example, for this guy, I have not maintained the qualification and availability. So I can click on availability and say maintain availability, send inventories, and let's say starting this month to next year maybe. Is available for sorry. 8 hours every day, 8 hours per day. So that's the availability. So if I can execute this, so his availability is now green. I can maintain qualification of the resource, which is useful in searching resources. So I can maintain the skill sets. I can also say qualifications. So I can see my user is assigned to this particular qualification. So I can maintain the individual for the qualifications as well. This PPM transaction. I can maintain some qualifications here, for example. I can make, yeah, I can maintain this qualification for the user. Okay. Now, one last point I want to cover is the archiving of the projects or deleting of projects. You have too much clutter in your project. So SAP has given an option to delete the project. So as long as the project is in created status, you can delete the projects. Let me go to all projects. Mostly I don't have anything created, but if it's just created, I can select a project and simply click on this delete button and it get removed. But if it's assigned, transferred or assigned, then you cannot delete that. But let's say I don't want some of the old project here. So I can archive those projects. So for example, I already marked these two projects as to be archived projects. I don't want to see them in here anymore. Somehow I'm not getting the name of the projects. So so it got hidden somehow. So let me add it and apply and save this view. just release and then cancel and then flag for archiving, and just save this project. Close this project. So I have these 3 projects to be archived. I will go to my SAP GUI. All right. This is usually done in the background. So I need to do archiving object C projects. I need to define a variant just to make sure I have the right project type. So yeah, this is the project type I want to deal with. I just want to do it right away for now. I need to give us full parameters. I'm ready with my archiving, so I just hit execute. That's all. I hope it's taken care. So I go back to my projects now, and yeah, if I refresh, I see those projects gone and my list became a little bit clean. Thank you very much, folks, for being patient for this long video. I tried to, I, I don't know if I was too slow or too fast, but most likely too slow, but wanted to cover most of the functions, even for those who are uh, not very familiar with SAP PPM or any other SAP module. So you are most welcome to post comments, any further points if you want to take a deep dive to. Also any corrections if I've done something wrong. For sure there are a few places I'm not doing it right, so please don't hesitate to give me feedback. I could possibly do another session for the portfolio management part of it, as a follow-up of this session. And also if I get any comments, I will definitely try to create another session for depending on those comments. So once again, thank you very much. I hope this session gives you some helps you in getting some more details of SAP PPM out of the box. Just to mention, all these things which I showed today was out of the box, with no enhancements at all. So again, thank you very much. Please give me comments if you have any, and have a good rest of the day, and thank you so much. Bye-bye.